Welcome to Are You Fucking Kidding Me? A thoughtful parenting podcast. The show that takes you from diaper disasters to the legendary teenage eye roll. I'm your host, Clementine Lord, here to guide you through every stage of parenting, from toddlers testing your patience to adult children testing your Wi-Fi limits. Parenting is a wild ride, and no matter your child's age, you'll always find a moment where you think, are you fucking kidding me? Welcome to Are You Fucking Kidding Me? A thoughtful parenting podcast. The show where we take all the chaos and confusion and existential dread of parenting and wrap it up in one big sarcastic bow. So pour yourself a drink, grab your favorite stress snack, or hell, go grab both, and let's dive in. Today, we're going to tackle the beast that has invaded every kitchen table, ruined countless evenings, and convinced me that I don't actually understand Pythagorean theorem. Today's topic, homework. Now I know what you're thinking. Why do we even have to deal with this? We already attended school. We already tackled this once before. But before we dive into the chaos that is homework time, let's take a moment to remember something super important. Teachers are doing the heavy lifting here, people. Our kids' teachers don't assign homework just to fucking mess with us. They assign it because they're trying to reinforce what they've already taught during the day. These teachers, they're working really fucking hard, usually with limited resources, overcrowded classrooms, and an overwhelming to-do list, and a very underwhelming budget. They do all of this to give our kids the education they deserve. So as much as I want to scream into the void every time my kid tells me they have a project due tomorrow, I also know it's my job as a parent to step up and support the process. Homework isn't just about solving math problems. It's about trusting the education system, showing up for our kids, and backing up the teachers who spend all day showing up for them. Before we start complaining about homework, and don't worry, we will, let's talk about why it even exists in the first place. Homework has been a part of our education system for centuries. The idea is really simple. It reinforces what kids learn in school. It helps them develop discipline and responsibility. And it gives teachers a way to see what the hell sticks. When we examine the history of homework, it'll help us have a better understanding of why we are today. The history of homework is really deeply tied to the evolution of education systems, societal values, and educational philosophies of the time and geography. In the United States in the 1800s, homework was primarily used in the form of rote memorization exercises. The focus was on religious texts and basic literacy. You know, reading, writing, arithmetic, yes. Copying dictionary definitions, copying passages of the Bible, all of that good stuff. With homework assigned sparingly in rural communities, where children often had significant labor responsibilities at home. Then in the mid-1800s, there was a guy named Horace Mann. He was a pioneer of public education. He helped popularize the Prussian model of schooling, which included structured lessons and after-school assignments. Homework became a tool to extend learning beyond the classroom. Then, as urbanization grew and children were freed from the many labor roles due to compulsory schooling laws, homework became a standard part of education. It was seen as a way to instill discipline and reinforce classroom learning. By the early 1900s, a backlash against homework emerged. The Ladies' Home Journal campaigned against homework, calling it a health risk for children. This is the early 1900s. Many parents and progressive educators believed homework deprived children of playtime and stifled creativity. It's interesting how history repeats itself. Then in the mid 1900s, there was a progressive education movement. This was influenced by educational reformers like John Dewey. The 1930s and 1940s saw homework decline in popularity. Schools emphasized experiential and hands-on learning, de-emphasizing rote assignments. Then, after the Soviet Union launched Sputnik in 1957, the US saw a renewed focus on academic rigor so we could compete in the space race. Homework became a cornerstone of educational policy, especially focusing on math and science, which we now call STEM. Then, in the 1970s and 80s, concerns about declining test scores and educational standards led to a back-to-basics movement, reinforcing homework as a tool for academic achievement. Homework began to reflect cultural and economic demands, with emphasis on standardized testing, preparation. That's the generation I grew up in. And then by the early 2000s, students were doing more homework than ever before, particularly in high-achieving schools. However, in recent times, studies questioning the effectiveness of excessive homework, especially for younger students, led to calls for balance. Research by Alfie Kohn and others argued that homework does not significantly benefit our elementary students. And that is something I can totally get behind. Then the pandemic disrupted our traditional schooling, and homework took on a whole new form as remote learning blurred the lines between in-class and at-home assignments, something I will never fucking miss. And then today, many schools are re-evaluating the role of homework, focusing on quality over quantity. Homework policies are increasingly tailored to developmental levels, and some schools adopting no homework policies for elementary grades. Now, is it always perfect? Absolutely not. But think about it this way. Teachers are working with 10, 20, 40 kids in a single classroom. They have to move really fucking fast to cover all of the curriculum the states set before them. And homework gives kids a chance to practice what they've learned at their own pace. It's not about torturing families or dumping work on parents. It's about making sure that knowledge has a chance to actually sink in. And honestly, that's something I can get behind, even if it means dusting off my old algebra skills, which, as you know, doesn't matter much because #new math. Okay, now that we've had our brief history lesson, let's break down why homework feels like a team sport and how we can actually survive it without losing our collective fucking minds. Fast forward today, and kids are coming home with projects that require 3 trips to Michael's, a degree in engineering, and possibly an emotional support animal. For me. Here's the thing. Our role as parents isn't to do the damn homework. It's to support our kids and make sure they have the tools they need to succeed. Teachers are leading the charge, but they can't do it alone. I'm not saying this is pretty. In my house, it goes a little something like this. The kid announces at 7 p.m., just after dinner, that they have a big assignment due tomorrow. It's always tomorrow. But to be honest, he's known for 3 fucking weeks. Mom or dad, or maybe both, immediately take on the unofficial roles as project manager and lead researcher. The printer runs out of ink because that's what happens. And the dog eats a crucial part of the project, and the dog is now the scapegoat for the night, hiding under one of the beds. Chaos ensues, and it's just a big emotional journey that often ends with me crying in the closet. If you've ever sat through an hour-long meltdown over fractions, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I can remember thinking my mother was the dumbest human alive as I was the one that asked for homework help, and she helped me the wrong way. I'm pretty sure there are stages of this journey that we call homework, kind of like their stages of grief. First, there's denial, thinking to yourself, maybe they don't have homework tonight. Then comes hope. Maybe it'll just be a quick worksheet. Spoiler alert, it's never a quick worksheet. After hope comes anger. You're 30 minutes into explaining long division, and your kid's staring at you like you're speaking in tongues. Why don't you understand this? I've explained this 3 times. Newsflash, their teacher explained it differently, and you are speaking gibberish. Then finally, acceptance. You're not getting through this without a meltdown. Could be yours, or maybe theirs. So go pour yourself a glass of wine, a shot of whiskey, and pray for the sweet release of bedtime. However, I do have to constantly remind myself that my kids' teachers have spent hours preparing lessons, managing a classroom, and meeting endless deadlines. So when they assign homework, they're trusting me as a parent to step in as a partner. My job and our job is to create the space for learning to happen, not to write the essay or build the diorama ourselves. I cannot tell you the number of teachers I am friends with who tell me that their students wrote exceptional essays written by mom and dad. It's kind of like being the pit crew in a race. The teacher is the driver, your kid is the car, and we're the ones making sure the tires are inflated and the tank is full. If we all play our part, everyone crosses the finish line in one piece. If someone oversteps, it's a fiery fucking wreck at the end. How we approach this teamwork as parents can make all the difference, and it often reveals itself in some very distinct styles. I'll break down the parenting archetypes when it comes to homework. I guarantee you'll recognize yourself in one of these. The overachiever. This is the parent who basically does the assignment themselves because they just want to make sure it's done right. Your kid turns in a project that looks like it belongs in a fucking art gallery. Seriously? Don't do this. You aren't helping your kid. And the teacher knows that your child didn't do it because they see the work they do complete in class. It has to fucking match. Then there's the helicopter. This parent hovers over their kid's shoulder, correcting every pencil stroke. Are you sure that's how you spell that? Do you need help? Let me just redo that for you. My kids have 504s, which, if you don't know, is an educational plan the school has to accommodate. And I tend to want to help by transcribing or showing them that their answer isn't a complete sentence. This isn't helpful either. We learn by mistakes, big and small. You have to let your kids fail a few times. Then there's the meltdown parent. You start out calm, but by the end you're yelling, "Why don't you listen to me? It's literally in the instructions." This is my husband. And then there's the detached parent. The kid is on their own. This parent is in the next room watching Netflix, muttering, "Not my circus, not my monkeys." Honestly, in recent years, I've really tried to embrace this parenting style when it comes to homework. Why? Well, let's address the elephant in the room: trusting the education system. It's really easy to feel frustrated when you're staring at a confusing worksheet or a project that seems impossible. But here's the thing: our kids' teachers are the experts. They have spent countless years studying how kids learn. They've worked hard to create lesson plans that meet educational standards while trying to keep things engaging. They're not throwing random assignments at us. They're giving our kids tools to think critically, solve problems, and build skills that will serve them for life. So when homework feels overwhelming, I remind myself, this isn't about me. It's about trusting that the teacher knows what they're doing and doing my part to support their efforts. Does this mean I never get frustrated? Oh, for fuck's sake, of course not. But it does mean I try to approach it with a little more patience. So let's get into some practical stuff. Homework might be unavoidable, and there are ways to make it less. Homework may be unavoidable, and there are ways to make it less painful for everyone involved. Or what I like to call how to get through this without turning into a screaming lunatic. Here are some survival strategies that I have used. Create a homework routine. Consistency is key. Pick a time and place for homework every day so it becomes part of their rhythm. Set a timer if your child tends to take a long time completing homework assignments, and encourage short breaks to get a snack, watch YouTube for 10 minutes, something to change the scenery for the brain. They'll be more successful in the long run. Then you can set boundaries. You're there to support, not to fucking micromanage. No one likes to be micromanaged. If your kid is struggling, guide them, but don't take over. If they forget their project and it's due tomorrow, well, shit. That's on them. Sometimes natural consequences are the best teacher. I've said this 100 times, but trust the process. If your child's work isn't perfect, that's okay. Teachers aren't expecting flawless assignments. They're expecting effort. This allows you to pick your battles. It's their grade. As long as they did their best and put forth the effort, they are on the right path. Our goals mightn't be their goals, and that has to be okay. And then another one that's sometimes unpopular is communicate with the teachers. Not tell them how to do their job, but actually communicate with them. If the homework feels unmanageable, reach out to the teacher. Teachers want feedback. They often will have tips and resources to help. For years before my son got his 504, his teachers gave him reduced math assignments. Even though he was advanced in math, his dysgraphia and his dyslexia prevented him from finishing them in an appropriate amount of time. I can even remember that when I was in second grade and we had to copy definitions out of the dictionary, kind of like the early years of American education, my parents got the teacher to reduce my workload by 90% so I could actually complete it. And that was the 80s. Today, it should really be a piece of cake. And this last one is my favorite. Celebrate the small wins. Seriously, fucking celebrate. Finished a tough worksheet, nailed a tricky science question, celebrate it. Have a dance party, cringe. Positive reinforcement goes a long way. Pull out the sparkling apple juice, have an ice cream bar, grab Starbucks on the way to school, but celebrate in a way that's meaningful to your child, not meaningful to you. I know homework isn't just hard for the kids. It's hard for the parents too. The frustration, the guilt, like legit guilt, the feeling that you're failing because your kid is struggling, the fear of judgment from the teacher, administrators, hell, from the other parents. It's a lot. But here's the thing. It's totally okay to struggle. It's okay to not have all the answers. What matters is showing up, staying patient, and trusting that this is all part of the process. And when things get really fucking tough, take a deep breath, maybe 10. Step away for a minute. Go have a good cry in your bathroom, or if you're like me, the closet, and remind yourself that you're doing the best you can. And so is your kid. At the end of the day, homework isn't just about teaching kids math or history. It's about teaching all of us patience, resilience, and when to throw in the fucking towel. It's about teaching kids responsibility, supporting their education, and building a partnership between families and teachers. The next time you're knee-deep in a science fair project, remember, you're not alone. We are all out here pretending to understand algebra and Googling, what is a preposition? at 9 p.m. Just take a deep breath. Remember that you're not alone and that your role isn't to be perfect, it's to be present. Thanks for listening to Are You Fucking Kidding Me? A thoughtful parenting podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend who's probably also drowning in glitter glue and homework worksheets. And don't forget, you are doing great, even if your kid's diorama looks like it survived a natural disaster. If you're still here, congratulations. You've survived another round of parenting truth bombs, questionable advice, and a healthy dose of side-eye at the chaos we all call raising kids. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you're listening. It helps other exhausted parents find this little corner of real talk. And hey, if you've got a story, a rant, or a question that you want me to tackle in a future episode, slide into my inbox or find me on Facebook. Until next time, remember, parenting is 10% strategy, 90% coffee, and 100% winging it. You're doing great.